Any questions before we go from there? Are we good? Everyone's good? Okay. All right, we'll just take the silence, take your word for it, I guess, all right? So, true or false? True or false? In some way or another, these are from the Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy, this document we're talking about. The priest can change the words of the Mass to fit the needs of the people. True or false? What do you think? True or false? Okay, some resounding falses. I heard a few truths. It's false. It's false. No. We're not in the business in the church of changing the rites or changing the liturgy for what we see fit, even as those celebrating it. So now you get that chance to learn one of those really good bar words like I was talking about in the trivia games or something, right? A motu proprio. This will come up next week. I can feel it. You'll be out downtown somewhere, and it'll be like, a motu proprio is, and you, yeah, I got that. All right, write that down, turn that in. But basically, a motu proprio is a fancy way of saying, I showed you that sliver of the document before. The motu proprio is basically the text afterward I talked about of how to implement the changes. So it's an official document of how to implement the document that's at hand. That's what really a motu proprio is in this context. So it says, nobody else, not even a priest, is entitled to add, subtract, or change anything in the liturgy. I don't know, what do you think about that? Surprising and expected it, did it? I don't know. Yeah. Not allowed. Here's another one. Mass is the only way to worship God. The only way. There we go. All right. Yeah, we're good on that one, right? False, of course. And here's paragraph 12. You see if there's that little P there, then we're referring to a paragraph abbreviation. If you haven't encountered this yet, if you look at church documents, they divide them up by paragraphs. Now, not in like this neat, like 5-6 sentence expression of a paragraph that you and I are familiar with, especially from your English classes, right? Or grammar. No. It's just like blocks of text. They randomly decide where it's going to segment. Sometimes it's thematically, sometimes it's not. But in any case, that's how they delineate where in the document we are. So paragraph 12. The spiritual life, however, is not limited solely to participation in the liturgy. The Christian is indeed called to pray with his brethren, but he must also enter into his chamber to pray to the Father in secret, yet more according to the teaching of the apostle. He should pray without ceasing. Here's the bonus question. Who is the apostle? Paul, yeah, good. So whenever you see the apostle Paul, slam dunk, good to go. All right, we're flying colors here. We're going good. All right. And in any case, too, remember that if we're emphasizing the Mass, we're emphasizing private prayer, you have to have both in your life. The Mass is certainly an important obligation to keep on Sunday. Obviously, we know that, right? We have to be at Mass on Sunday, and Holy Day is an obligation. But if you're just doing that, you're robbing yourself of what private prayer life you have to cultivate with God. It's what we're all called to as disciples in Christ. No matter who we are, no matter what walk of life we're from, we're all called to cultivate a prayer life. It's not just for someone that wears these clothes or wears a habit or a sister or things like that, okay? All right, here's another one. Mass is a foretaste of the heavenly kingdom. Mass is a foretaste of the heavenly kingdom. Some confident truers up here. What are we thinking around? Sounds pretty reasonable, right? A foretaste. It's not the fullness of heaven, but it's something that we can expect to be a foretaste of heaven. Yeah, good. We're going good here. True. Now, there's a little story that I told in the morning, and I hope I'm not misattributing it to the late Cardinal George, but I'll just go for it anyway. So there was a little story that there was a teenager that approached Cardinal George, the previous Archbishop of Chicago, who has since passed away. And the youth asked him, the teenager asked him, you know, I find myself bored in Mass. And I don't know why I'm there. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just bored. And the Cardinal, he says, well, what should I do about this? And the Cardinal says, well, if you're bored in the context of Mass, then you'll probably be bored in hell too. And the crowd is like, oh my gosh. Again, get a break, right? I mean, like, up in front of everybody, asking the question to the Cardinal, he just slams them, I mean, right? But then he kind of laughed, of course. But there's that reality that the Mass is the fullness, not that the fullness, but a foretaste of the heavenly reality. So if you look around you at Mass, we're all gathered gathered together, gathered around the altar of the Lord, worshiping God. And we do that as individuals, but also as a community as well, which is what the fullness of the heavenly kingdom is. When you think about heaven, you might think about everyone there worshiping God. But sometimes there's that temptation to only think that it's you and Jesus. And that's it, just me and him. Or maybe the people that are close to you that you love and Jesus and God, right? But remember, that person that you don't like that lives cat a corner to you or wherever, we hope and pray that they're in heaven with us, right? We want them to be there too. Or that person that, we almost cut off and hit on the way here because I'm a bad driver, right? Father Man can attest to that. We hope, and I hope that he hopes I'm in heaven with him, even though I almost got T-boned by him because I thought it was a 4-way and it was a 2-way, right? So we hope that we're all united in the heavenly kingdom together. Even with those people who are like, really, are they going to be there? We hope and pray, right? And the document has the same feeling, right? In the earthly liturgy, we take part in foretastes of that heavenly liturgy, which is celebrated in the holy city of Jerusalem, towards which we journey as pilgrims.